It was supposed to be a short break, a solo getaway. A man leaves his home seeking peace in the wilderness, away from screens, people, and pressure. He doesn't tell anyone where he's going. No itinerary, no backup. Just a man and the wild. It's not reckless, it's routine. For him, these short escapes are therapy. But what he doesn't know is that this time, nature has a different plan. A trap is waiting, silent, patient, and when it springs, it will test not just his strength, but his soul. John Edward Donovan had done this before, many times. A seasoned hiker, quiet by nature, he found something sacred in solitude. The Australian bush was his temple, dry, vast, unforgiving. As he stepped away from his truck, the world behind him disappeared. His phone was off. No compass, just his internal sense of direction. He liked it that way. It wasn't ignorance, it was faith in himself. He believed the land wouldn't betray him. But every step deeper into the wild was one step closer to a test he couldn't imagine. The trail turned to sand, then stone. John stumbled across an old, dried-up quarry, a place nature had almost reclaimed. The towering rocks, split by time and wind, created narrow passageways that fascinated him. He walked deeper into the maze, where shadows danced and silence screamed. He felt alive there. The air was still, thick with dust. Some boulders looked ready to fall, others had already collapsed. But he wasn't afraid. He moved with confidence, stopping only to admire the weight of the world around him, not knowing that soon that weight would pin him down, permanently. It happened in a second, a loose edge, a sudden crack. John shifted his foot, and the ground betrayed him. He fell, not far, but just enough to disturb something ancient. A 400-kilogram rock, loosened from its resting place, tumbled. There was no time to react, no warning, just a crushing weight slamming into his left leg with the sound of snapping bone. He screamed, loud, raw, animal. Then silence again, not the silence of peace, the silence of horror. The boulder had pinned him, and the wilderness didn't even flinch. The pain was blinding, a mix of fire and ice shooting through his leg and spine. He tried to push, pull, shift, but the rock didn't move. Not a millimeter. His thigh felt flattened, pulsing with agony. Blood oozed from somewhere he couldn't see. He shouted, screamed into the sky. No one answered. There was no signal, no human sound, just insects and wind carrying his screams into the void. Panic started creeping in. His mind raced with questions. How bad was the damage? Could he bleed out? Could he even survive a night here? The sun dipped below the horizon fast. Temperature dropped. The sky turned from gold to indigo to black. John had no blanket, no fire. His body, already in shock, began to shake from cold. Every minute felt like an hour. He thought about using his shirt for warmth, then realized he'd need it for bandaging. He couldn't sleep. The pain wouldn't allow it. And the fear that no one would come, that he'd vanish in this place without a trace. That fear kept him awake long after the stars took over the sky. Memories came flooding in uninvited. His daughter's birthday, his dog Max, his wife's laughter, the sound of traffic outside their home, the smell of morning coffee. Ordinary things, now impossibly far. He hadn't called anyone. He'd left no note, no map, no clue. As far as the world knew, he was just out for a day. The weight of that mistake hurt more than the rock crushing his leg. Because now, no one was looking, and he was completely alone. By morning, the reality settled in. His body was swollen, his mouth dry as dust. He tried to ration the tiny water bottle he'd brought, sipping drops, but it wasn't enough. He stared at the sun, willing it to move faster, to give him another night, another chance. He tried once more to shift the rock, with sticks, leverage, raw will. Nothing. His hands bled from effort. His body gave up before his mind did. And yet, he kept whispering to himself, "You're not dying here. Not like this." By the third day, hunger was a ghost clawing at his stomach. He hadn't eaten in over 48 hours. His body began shutting down, trying to preserve energy. The bush swirled in front of his eyes, trees shifting, rocks whispering. He thought he saw someone, a figure in the distance. He shouted. No response, just the wind. It wasn't real, he knew that. But part of him still hoped that maybe, somehow, he wasn't alone anymore. Then came the flies. They smelled blood. Hundreds swarmed his wound, crawling, feeding, laying eggs. He tried to slap them away, but his arms were weak. Maggots followed. He could feel them squirming in the open wound. The pain turned to nausea. He was rotting, alive, and there was nothing he could do. His body became a battlefield. His will, the only soldier left fighting. John stopped counting hours. Time was now light and dark. The fourth day broke him. He wept, not loud, just quiet, hopeless sobs. He spoke aloud, to God, to the sky, to anyone. Please, not like this. He pictured the headlines, "Missing hiker never found." He imagined his family searching, years later, still wondering. That thought hurt more than anything. He didn't fear death anymore. He feared being forgotten. But as the sun set on day 4, something shifted. Not in the rock, in him. A deep, primal part of his brain lit up, the part that refuses to die. He reached into his bag and found his small utility knife. It wasn't enough to cut the rock, but it was something. He began crafting a plan. Not to escape, but to survive. One more day. Just one more. That was his new goal. He used his shoelaces to build a crude sling for his leg, tore strips from his shirt to wrap his wound. He collected dew from leaves using the cap of his bottle. Every tiny action became a mission. His mind focused not on rescue, but endurance. He started talking to himself again, not for madness, but for motivation. You made it this far. One more day. Just one more. Back home, his wife finally noticed something was wrong. No return calls, no check-ins. She alerted the police. A search team was formed, but they had no starting point, just vague memories of past hikes. The bush was massive, thousands of acres. Finding one man was like finding a pebble in the ocean, and time was running out. When dawn broke on day 5, John wasn't sure if he was alive. Everything ached, his leg was numb now, dead weight, but his ears picked up something new, a distant hum, faint, growing louder. A chopper. He wasn't dreaming, a real helicopter. He waved the shard of mirror he'd kept. He screamed until his throat cracked. The chopper hovered, paused, then tilted and began to descend. The sound of boots crashing through brush, shouts, dogs barking, then faces, real human faces, hands reaching out, radios crackling. The team found him, barely alive, dehydrated, infected, but conscious. A medic looked at his leg and shook his head. "We have to move fast." They sedated him before lifting the boulder with tools. John blacked out. He woke up in a hospital bed, IVs in his arms, machines beeping, his leg gone, amputated above the knee. He didn't cry, he just stared at the ceiling, breathing. He was alive, and that was enough, for now. Rehabilitation was brutal. Phantom pain, depression, days where he didn't speak, but slowly he started walking again, on crutches, then a prosthetic. His daughter visited every day, so did Max, the dog. Their love became his fuel. Every step was a battle, but he was used to battles now. A year later, John returned to the same spot, not to tempt fate, but to face it. He stood where the boulder once pinned him, now broken apart by the rescue team. He placed a hand on the scarred earth and whispered, "You didn't win." Then he walked away, stronger than ever. John now speaks to outdoor groups, schools, rescue teams. He teaches survival, planning, and most importantly, respect for nature. He doesn't fear the wilderness, he fears ignorance. His story isn't about pain, it's about purpose. About fighting, even when the world says it's over. The man who refused to die, he entered the wild seeking peace and left it with purpose. He lost a leg, but gained a story, one that inspires, one that warns, one that proves a simple truth. The human spirit, when truly tested, can survive anything.